feels like we're in this health revolution, right? Like a health, wellness, healthcare revolution where everybody is wanting to feel better about their bodies, sleep better with their bodies, think better, think more clearly, have less stress. And it's almost like a heightened awareness of that from like an individual standpoint. And so our longevity category for me, I'm especially excited about because they're products and services that I want to consume from a consumer standpoint of how can I improve my cognitive ability and how can I improve the way that I sleep and the way that I think and the mental clarity and everything else, improving my insulin sensitivity and inflammation levels and whatnot, right? So again, it just feels like we're pairing this at a moment where there's a revolution, if you will, right? Of people becoming more aware of what my body is capable of and what I want it to feel like and how it performs.
New choices, new players, new models of care. You know consumer first healthcare is everywhere. For us to build the future, to see what's new, we gotta look at the world from a different point of view. Consumer innovation ain't going away. I say it's here to stay. Today it leads the way. We gotta drop the silos. We're all the same team. Experience, business, tech, and marketing. So join us now. Join the revolution. Consumer first health is the evolution. Status quo or like status no. Yeah, this is the healthcare rap. Yo, come on, let's go.
Hey, welcome back to the leading podcast about consumer-centered healthcare. What if healthcare was actually centered around what consumers need and expect? We're talking with leaders who are making it happen one experience at a time. I'm Jared Johnson, and this is episode 410. Today, we have the flavor of the week about Alexa Plus. Will Amazon's new agentic capabilities make it the AI-powered personal assistant that we've always wanted? And what are some recommendations that we have for it to become a game-changing application for health consumers? I'll talk about that. Then Morley Baker, founder and CEO of Shed, joins me to discuss the journey of making wellness available to everyone, how a pod-based team approach is giving consumers the help that they've been asking for, and where some of the newest products and services for cognitive ability and weight management fit into wellness journeys. It's time for the awesomeness, y'all. Are you ready? Let's go.
Flavor of the week.
If Alexa Plus is as big as Amazon says it will be, I have a few requests on behalf of health consumers. Amazon announced the next evolution of its Alexa ecosystem with some pretty bold descriptions of what's possible now. The news came on February 26th when they introduced Alexa Plus, their next generation assistant powered by generative AI. They say it's more conversational, smarter, and personalized, and helps you get things done. It does all this and more. All you have to do is ask. There were more descriptions on their website. Alexa Plus is designed to take action and is able to orchestrate across tens of thousands of services and devices, which to our knowledge has never been done at this scale. To achieve this, we created a concept called experts, groups of systems, capabilities, APIs, and instructions that accomplish specific types of tasks for consumers. Also, the new Alexa is highly personalized and gives you opportunities to personalize further. She knows what you've bought, what you've listened to, the videos you've watched, the address you ship things to, and how you like to pay. But you can also ask her to remember things that will make the experience more useful for you. You can tell her things like family recipes, important dates, facts, dietary preferences, and more, and she can apply that knowledge to take useful action. For example, if you were planning a dinner for the family, Alexa Plus can remember that you love pizza, your daughter's vegetarian, and your partner's gluten-free to suggest a recipe or restaurant. Okay, so we all know healthcare isn't the same as planning a pizza party, but this paints a picture of how Amazon is staking its claim as the worldwide leader in agentic AI for consumers. So I got to thinking, what would I wish that Alexa Plus can do in healthcare? Well, the list got pretty long pretty quickly, but here are the top 5 items on my wish list. Number 1, quarterback my health and wellness journey. Know me better than I know myself and frictionlessly guide me to make the decisions that will lead me to better health on a daily and even hourly basis. Put me in control without having to do the legwork. Number 2, understand exactly what I need to be healthy, from food to fitness to preventive services to my annual checkup to specialist visits. Then anticipate what products and services make sense for me to engage with and recommend them to me proactively. I don't know what I don't know. Number 3, make shopping easy. Take its current shopping recommendations to the next level, informed by trusted medical information and health literature. For instance, if I ask about a sleep management product that I saw in an ad, offer personalized recommendations that are backed by science, and then without being asked, also explore related devices and services and explain why I might want to consider them as well based on what it knows about me. Number 4, orchestrate all of my doctors, devices, and data. Look, I have a primary care doctor, right? I have an Apple Watch. I have a gym membership. So integrate all of these things that I'm using using to attempt to stay healthy. As part of that, coordinate with my care team and integrate all of my health data. Figure out whatever needs to be figured out to comply with HIPAA once and for all. And number 5, bridge the gap between health and wellness, between sick care and prevention. Don't just give me scheduling options for doctors, and don't just give me supplements or devices. Make me more informed about all of the options available to me so I'm more empowered to succeed. So there you go. Now, if this was a true wish list, I'd also tell Alexa Plus to solve price transparency, health inequities, and misinformation. But let's start by seeing how it does with these other items first. Either way, if the future is now, it's time to apply it to healthcare. Alexa, since I know you're listening already, we're ready for you. Let's not just watch, let's pioneer how Alexa Plus and other consumer AI agent platforms can make healthcare more consumer-centered. That's another way that we'll build the healthcare of tomorrow, and that's the flavor of the week. Shed is revolutionizing health and wellness by making wellness available to everyone. Through personalized nutrition, high-quality supplements, and science-backed wellness strategies, Shed empowers individuals to take control of their health and live longer, healthier lives. Not sure where to start? Try NAD+, the ultimate coenzyme that supports cells, DNA repair, and anti-aging. Or maybe you'll like LDN for managing chronic pain, autoimmune diseases, and metabolic health challenges. Visit Try Shed to start your wellness journey today. That's tryshed.com.
The flow.
All right, everyone, let's get into the flow. Today, I'm very excited to be here with Morley Baker. Morley's the founder and CEO of Shed. They started as a telehealth weight loss clinic, but as you'll hear, they believe in providing health for everybody. And I love that tagline. And we're excited to dive into what that means and kind of where they're expanding and seeing opportunities to help people achieve that exact thing. So first and foremost, Morley, welcome to the Healthcare Wrap.
Appreciate it, Jared. Thanks for having me on. Excited about it.
I would love to hear your background. I'd love to hear maybe like the 2-minute version of who you are and what you do and kind of how did you land where you are now?
Yeah, great question. I'm an entrepreneur by just the very nature of myself. So I started a handful of different businesses, some successful, some not so successful. I have really fallen in love with the wellness type category in terms of how can we make products, services more accessible to the masses and what that might mean for healthier living and longevity and that sort of thing. So I have started some snack food type businesses in the past, trying to make foods that are healthier and more accessible kind of for the everyday consumer, and ultimately kind of fell in line here in more of a traditional healthcare type role with telehealth. So Shed got started out at the very tail end of 2022, and like you mentioned, started out in a more telehealth weight loss specific category and are quickly expanding beyond that. So that's kind of the early stages of where we came from.
So if you don't mind me asking, anything that stands out in terms of a difference between working in a healthcare or health specific job versus like some of the snack foods or some of the other businesses you've worked in? Is it different trying to reach a consumer that way or just like anything else that stands out different?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually found a lot of continuity and synergy between trying to reach a consumer. The snack food space that I was working in, we did some B2B, but primarily that direct to consumer type model. And I've found a lot of the same kind of mechanisms, general business type use cases and whatnot from the direct to consumer model that still are what you're trying to achieve from a telehealth perspective, right? At least for Shed, the ultimate goal here is we want to make our products and services as accessible to the masses as possible. That's not only from a price point of view and whatnot, but it's from an ease of use. It's how we communicate with the customer. It's the consumer journey and what they end up experiencing as a purchaser and as a user and as somebody who is as part of their wellness journey. And so I've actually found less of the differentiators between kind of the traditional direct-to-consumer model versus the telehealth. It feels like there's a lot of similarities in those two pockets.
Oh, I hope to dive into this a little bit more. You did mention kind of the origins of Shed. Where is it today? And it sounds like you're expanding into some new areas. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Shed started out, like we mentioned, as a typical weight loss clinic, telehealth weight loss clinic, and we've quickly expanded beyond that. So we offer a full-fledged health coaching services and staff and support on that front, as well as community engagement for the consumer. And we have our own supplement line as well. So all of those things, again, were unique to our weight loss category, specifically to help either co-pilot or aid in that consumer journey from a weight management perspective. We actually just launched our longevity category or vertical at Shed just earlier this month. So excited about that. Not only with medications, but we have some supplements pairing or again, kind of co-piloting those medications as well. So the end goal for Shed, it feels like a lot of telehealth is focused around how do we make a delivery of medicine, kind of specifically medicine, how we make medicine as accessible as possible, deliver it to the consumer's door as quickly and efficiently, just like you would with a normal D2C, Amazon, whatever shipment. I don't want the box to be damaged. I don't want it to be delayed, whatever else. Well, the end goal for the consumer isn't necessarily receiving the shipment. The end goal for the consumer is way over here where they want to resolve their health condition. Whatever they started out at, like that's what they're trying to resolve. They're not trying to resolve, can I get medication? They're trying to resolve, I want to fix my health condition. And so the ultimate goal for Shed, we're transitioning further into that journey for the consumer of how can we really aid the consumer at every point of the way in that wellness journey. We're calling it the most complete wellness journey, right? Like that's what we're striving to achieve is how do we create for each health condition, for each imperative, for each achievable result that the consumer is trying to end up at? How can we create each stepping stone every single day, whatever that touch point might look like? How do we create that holistic approach for the consumer so they can ultimately achieve the outcome of looking themselves in the mirror and saying, from a weight management perspective, a stress level, from sex health to hormone replacement therapy to dermatology and hair loss and everything else, look themselves in the mirror and say, I feel good about me, myself, my body, and where I'm at in that from where I started, right?
Okay, so can you walk us through how the service works? So if somebody's interested in looking at it, are they starting at your website? Are they hearing about it from their doctor? And kind of how is that different than other ways that people might access some of the solutions you provide?
Yeah, great question. So we are more of a direct-to-consumer model on that front. So people are finding us online and physical locations and whatnot, ad space and kind of everything else in terms of the customer acquisition. So consumers are coming directly to Shed for that help. And we offer, again, every step of the way, and it's continuing to develop and become bigger, but every step of the way from the meeting with the provider and experiencing the intake flows and the filling out your medical history and whatnot, to meeting with a health coach and getting support from a health coaching perspective, to medication and supplements and beyond, right? So plenty of resources and things like that in our portals for the consumers to use. And it's really about engaging the consumer at different moments along that pathway, right? When you have so many consumers kind of following that same track, you learn, okay, a consumer when they're at month 3 may or may not need this type of a resource or this type of a material to help them at what they may be struggling with at that given point. So it's developing that is kind of what the consumer's experiencing at Shed.
Got it. Okay, so is it kind of an ongoing thing, like they're ordering some of the products there? And I guess how are you keeping them engaged after they start the service?
We've developed this, we call it like a member success pod, if you will. So each consumer that joins Shed receives access or is given a team, if you will, right? So this pod is made up of a customer success, a member success manager, a health coach, a nurse, a provider, all under this umbrella of I'm here, the pod is here to support the consumer. And so the end goal of that is to be able to say, okay, I have a direct representative at Shed and a team of those people, individuals that are there to support me with a question, with a resource, whatever. So using that pod to engage the consumer at different steps along their path or along their journey, that's the end goal for them. And providing them with resources if they have questions, or providing them with resources if they don't have questions, right? Trying to anticipate for the consumer.
Well, I love hearing that because there's kind of a mantra that's frequently shared in healthcare, right? That no matter how much the tech improves, no matter how much AI is infusing different solutions here, you can't take the human out of healthcare. Like you just can't take that human element out and have the same result and the same outcome. So to hear that that's absolutely part of the ongoing involvement with Shed is encouraging to me. And it sounds like you're trying to simplify a process, trying to simplify a journey of a consumer who is interested in exploring their own wellness, better understanding it, because I still find that we all have more to learn about how to be well. And I think that's a big piece of this. I'm kind of excited about a couple of new recent launches that Shed just announced. One was for low dose naltrexone, and there's more in store. What are some of those recent things that you've announced, and tell us kind of why you're excited about them?
Yeah, we just launched with low dose naltrexone LDN a few weeks ago and are launching right now with NAD+. Both in our longevity category, we have a handful of other medications and supplements that are going to pair with those. Everything from B12, MYC-B12 complexes to methyl blue to Smorlin to you name it, right? So again, that all kind of falls into our longevity category. Really excited about those and what that offers from a consumer standpoint, right? It feels like you're seeing this just as much as I am probably feels like we're in this health revolution, right? Like a health, wellness, healthcare revolution where everybody is wanting to feel better about their bodies, sleep better with their bodies, think better, think more clearly, have less stress. And it's almost like a heightened awareness of that from like an individual standpoint. And so our longevity category for me, I'm especially excited about because they're products and services that I want to consume from a consumer standpoint of how can I improve my cognitive ability and how can I improve the way that I sleep and the way that I think and the mental clarity and everything else, right? Like improving my insulin sensitivity and inflammation levels and whatnot, right? So again, it just feels like we're pairing this at a moment where there's a revolution, if you will, right? Of people becoming more aware of what my body is capable of and what I want it to feel like and how it performs.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. And I think you're right. We are seeing that in a lot of different places. I'll kind of connect that to traditional care that's happening in traditional provider settings and hospitals and health systems, for instance. One theme for us this whole season is how traditional care providers and settings can work with some of these emerging areas. We've referred to them as a lot of different things. We think of them as like healthcare adjacent. They're everything from connected fitness to nutrition to sleep management, mental health, and weight loss, and some of the longevity. I would add to that as well. Are there opportunities to continue a direct-to-consumer model, as well as partner with workplaces and hospitals to offer the service in a way, just knowing that that's where a lot of health journeys start, or at least people are considering that when trying to explore how to feel better about whatever they're trying to solve in their life. Are there opportunities for those partnerships to happen?
Absolutely. I feel like you mentioned, like that's where a lot of people are either getting access to or hearing about or learning about different wellness type experiences, right? Is through an employer type setting. And so for sure it makes sense. And that's definitely a vertical and avenue that Shed is exploring actively. And so in terms of partnerships from an employer wellness benefits type journey or platform, that's 100% something that we are continuing to build on and explore here at Shed. It's a really interesting thing to try to tackle though, when you think about the lifetime of an employee at an employer, right? Like typical average lifetime of how long an employee is with a given employer is, call it 2 to 5 years, if you will, right? And so you have a limited window with that employee where the employer and the insurer need to see the benefit in that short period of time in order for it to make sense. You know what I mean? So I feel like you're facing an interesting challenge of a lot of the medications and offerings and services that people like Shed provide. You may not see full benefit of that for 10, 20 years. You know what I mean? Like you're talking a few decades potentially for some of these things of like really seeing the benefit of I didn't become obese where I may have had precursors to become obese, right? Or from a longevity standpoint of what is LDN doing for me in the 2 to 5 year window versus what's it doing for me in the 20-year window. They're very different. And it's just an interesting aspect to the employer benefit program of how do you justify it in that setting.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's similar to value-based care, isn't it? In terms of the ROI takes longer to achieve or to even measure when you're actually looking at the outcomes of a value-based arrangement are typically a lot longer term than what you'd measure typical quality measures at a hospital, for instance, of readmissions or like any particular quality measure. So you're right. That's an important factor in those types of partnerships to be able to approach it in a way that people see the value of it. So what else thoughts related to where Shed is going and just things you've learned along the way are interesting to think about as we're speaking with, I'd say the majority of our listeners are working in a healthcare setting, but they are also personally interested in their own health and wellness. Like personally, they themselves are a caregiver, they have family members, or on their own, they are actively exploring solutions to feel better in some way. What are some of those other, I guess, just insights that you've learned along the way? I thought you've given some great examples of things that, at certain times, I mean, that 3 months in or whatever, somebody's typically going to be looking for a different type of support, or even the creation of the pods you mentioned, that those are available. Those clearly came from insights that the company is based on. Are there other insights that are useful for our listeners just to consider as they're looking at ways to solve some of these wellness issues in their own lives?
It's a great comment, and you're absolutely right. Our pod-based, I don't even want to call it customer support, but it really is just like this holistic pod where you've got the coach, the nurse, the provider, the member success member, all kind of stacked together. That definitely came out of a recognition that our consumers aren't getting what they need. Right? Like we had customer support and we had health coaching, they're kind of separated, and we had nurse support and triage support and provider support and whatnot, but all kind of like segmented into their own categories and teams. Pulling them all into one team was based off of this idea that our consumers are asking the member success manager or the member success customer support person, well, hey, can you tell me what I'm supposed to do if I feel nauseous? Or would you recommend a protein diet or a specific type of nutrition, macros and whatever else? And this is the weight management side. And so you have this customer support person going and talking to the coach and saying, hey, can you reach out to consumer A and whatever else? And I feel like as you continue to offer products to more people and you have more people start to use and be involved, you are gleaning insights into what is truly important for the consumer, right? Like when we launch this longevity category, we have our ideas of what we think the consumer is going to want and need, but do we really know, right? Like one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we're getting right now is that, especially relative to our longevity category, is that sleep is a bigger deal than we thought, right? So we're now launching a sleep supplement to pair with our longevity category because consumers are saying, I want to figure out how to sleep better and to either resolve sleep apnea or to create deeper, long-lasting sleep. Before the recording, we were talking about wearables and whatnot. And it's, again, part of this revolution of people are wanting to know. People want to know their data. They want to know their stats. They want to know how a medication may or may not improve X, Y, and Z metrics for them personally and what that does to their body. And so I can't emphasize that enough of it. We're gaining insights directly from the consumer because of how they're not only interacting with the products and services that we're offering, but how they're interacting with our community, how they're interacting with our portal and whatnot, and which resources they're consuming. And so that's where we're finding a ton of our insight is what can we provide from the consumer standpoint that is going to be most beneficial or help them get from point A to point B.
I love it. That's the conversation we should be having, I feel like, more. And so there's a huge opportunity here to continue talking about that and recognizing on an individual scale because the answer is different for everybody. So great point. Morley, just one more question for you. You personally, what gives you hope for the future of healthcare in our country? It's easy to point out the things that are broken, the way that we want an experience to be better or improved, the way that healthcare should be engaging with me more or better. So I find it helpful to ask and just point out the things that give us hope, things that we see making a difference and the positives that are coming out because there are people's lives being saved every day in healthcare, right? Like there are innovations happening that are improving the quality of life every day. So what about you personally? What gives you hope for the future of healthcare in our country?
I mean, from a leadership perspective at work, you tell your employees, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions, right? And so it's the same type of idea of it's easy for all of us to point out and say, there's a problem over here, here, and here. It's so much more challenging to say, well, what is the actual solution to that problem? Obviously, don't have all the answers. What gives me hope, though, is that what we were just talking about, and what you just mentioned, is this personalized support, right? Like nothing's going to replace a hospital or surgeon or that hands-on experience in certain circumstances and situations and diseases and whatever. But there is this idea of, can you get in front of the problem? Are we able to discover and define and ultimately resolve or at least mitigate some or most of potential problems before they start to show their head or rear their head, right? And so I feel like that's what's giving me hope right now in healthcare is it feels like things are pushing further into the early stages of how do we resolve wellness instead of how do we put a Band-Aid on something that is a problem and it's too late to fix it. You know what I mean? Feels like for years and decades we've been let's patchwork this and put Band-Aids on things when ultimately we needed to figure out how do we solve the problem. Now, that isn't to say that the history of healthcare has been flawed. I just think that our eyes have almost been open to say, well, okay, this is great. We have a couple of good Band-Aids, but can we actually solve the root cause of when did this become a problem? And was there an opportunity to fix it before it became a much, much bigger deal, right? So that's what's giving me hope right now is it feels like things are pushing more in this direction of let's solve it before it really becomes a scenario that we can't walk back from.
I love the thought. I love the thought of moving well past just putting Band-Aids on things. And I appreciate that perspective. And that's actually a wrap for this episode. I want to thank you, Morley, for joining us today and for everything you're doing to make healthcare more consumer-centered. We look forward to seeing where Shed goes from here, and I appreciate you giving us some time.
Jared, really appreciate it. Great to see you.